Coming up on Monday night, college football will crown its national champion in the college football playoff between Notre Dame and Ohio State. And we are excited to have the defensive coordinator of the Buckeyes, Jim Knowles, back with us again for his second year here on the North Carolina Sports Network. And Jim, I was telling Coach Collins before we got you on the air here that in my 55, almost 56 years of watching football on this planet, I have never cheered for Ohio State until I met you. And now I cheer for the Buckeyes, and lo and behold, with my fandom propelling you forward, you have made it all the way to the CFP championship. Brother, congratulations on an exciting ride ever since November 30th. I know that one was a tough pill to swallow, but dadgummit, if you guys just haven't spit that right back in all of your detractors' faces and come out like pure champions that you obviously were before that game, and right now have a chance to play for that ultimate prize come Monday night.
Yeah, thank you. Well, hopefully your fandom gets us over the top. But you know, you, we all know there are ups and downs, and you got to be able to utilize that adversity to make you stronger. We've been pretty good on defense all year. We had a little bit of a letdown in the first Oregon game, but overall it's been solid, and the guys are really have really picked things up, and they play hard, and they're resilient. We've had some goal line stops this year. I had one in the last game, and that's what wins for you in these tight games. It comes down to some situations that you have to win.
Heading into this season, Ohio State, you went through a lot of changes, both on and off the field, over a $20 million reported NIL budget. And this was really kind of a ground shaking moment, I would think, for such a storied program to go back and, in essence, reinvent itself. Tell me how that process all came about.
The fortunate thing about being at Ohio State is I don't have to deal really with any of the NIL, um, and that's has taken over the game, and it's changed the game. But I get to just coach the players here, which is good because we have people who do that, and I've just tried to stay consistent with. So I don't know how much they make. I don't want to know, and they know I'll coach them. I'll coach them hard, whether they make $1 or $1 million. So I think my first year here, it felt like we were behind. Everything was new, and Ohio State's an old school program, and the fan base, the alums, they're used to giving money to you know, build buildings and that sort of thing, but not to pay players. So it felt like to me that it took us a year or so to get up and running, and now, fortunately, we're able to compete with anyone in that market.
Coach Collins always says that talent is talent, but he was a much better coach when he had great players. It did seem like this year that a lot of the teams that went into the portal heavy took some time to kind of find their rhythm. Do you think that's going to be something that is more or less the norm as we move forward in college football, that you're going to have to get deeper into the season before you see what a team's potential really is?
Yeah, I mean, there are those programs that turn over a lot of players every year, and um, I think that's hard. That's hard to get your team to gel, early in the season. Um, we, we participate in the portal market, but if you look at our team right now, you look at the defense. The majority of these guys have been with me for 3 years. We got Caleb Downs from Alabama, and he's exceptional. He's a complete professional. And we got Davidson Igbinosun from Ole Miss, at a corner position for us. But across the front and at the linebacker position, our nickel, our weak safety. You know, there's one corner. So we probably have 9 out of 11 starters that have been with me for 3 years.
Well,
That's a
the interesting thing is, Jim, you guys have the opportunity to use the NFL philosophy, which is I'm going to supplement the draft. I refer to high school recruiting as the draft, and I refer to the transfer portal as free agency. So you're very selective in what you do in the transfer portal and free agency to supplement the players that are on your team right now. And and I agree with you 100%. Not that you need my agreement. Caleb Downs is out of sight. He's as good as I've seen as a safety.
Yeah, not only is he talented, but he studies the game and, he recognizes formations and, he sees the play before it happens. He makes the adjustments and he's been a great example for everybody. We have really good kids here, which is a plus. When you deal with a lot of 4 and 5 star players, we don't really have any egos. But when Caleb shows up, when he got here, he's serious from day one. And he's just one of those guys that is going to take notes, is going to study, is going to come in early. I mean, he's a real professional. So you bring in somebody like that, and it just ups everybody's game.
Well, the interesting thing about him, Jim, and I know you know his history, is that his uncle is Dre Bly, who was uh, who was a great college player, Hall of Famer, and also a great pro. And then his brother is a starting receiver for the Indianapolis Colts, and Josh. So what a great football family. But Jim, I thought watching your Oregon game that what you did with him and your plan in that game against Dylan Gabriel was so typical Jim Knowles. I enjoyed watching that, and I texted you after the game and said, "What a great plan! I love that plan."
Thanks, JC. That means a lot because I know you know ball and you've lived it, and yeah, I've just been trying to get him in position to make more plays and be in the heart and the center of the defense, which as you know is not easy for a DB, and that's and yeah, so we've started moving him around some second half of the season, and it's worked out really well for us.
We're talking with defensive coordinator Jim Knowles of the Ohio State Buckeyes on January 20th. They'll go head to head with Notre Dame in the college football playoff championship game down in Atlanta. Coach, you guys had a long time off between playing Michigan and coming back with that first round game against Tennessee. Looking at it now, do you think it was a benefit to not have a bye in that first round and be able to get right back at it within 3 weeks and against a team from the SEC with the Vols that had a lot of things that, tested you guys and got you back on a razor margin?
Boy, it certainly seems that way, doesn't it? I mean, I guess all the teams that played in the first round ended up winning, right? Am I correct? Is that the
Right.
way? Is that the way it came out? Yeah. So, um, I don't know if that is the cause of it. I'm not really sure. Or I think the way that the seeding went, um, it wasn't like the NCAA basketball tournament. So I think that that made our path tough, and I think it took out some other teams. Certainly hope, or at least they should adjust it in the future. To where okay, you pick the best 12, but then you seed them according to um, what you believe they are, not just because they played in a conference championship. I think the idea is to get the best teams and then get them in the best order. So I think that part of it is what really got some teams and certainly made our path even more difficult.
You got the win over Tennessee 42-17 in that first round, then come back, beat the Oregon Ducks 41-21, and then most recently the win over Texas 28-14. Quinn Ewers started his career there in Columbus at Ohio State, and then of course, as everybody knows, he finished his career at Texas against Ohio State, and the Buckeyes put him into collegiate retirement. Was that something that a lot of people talked about, the media, the players, going around your football building there leading up to the game last week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You would probably know better than me because I don't follow it. But I know our guys. They had a lot of respect for him, and a lot of them are friends. And Jack Sawyer, who got that strip sack, cause fumble, touchdown. I mean, those guys roomed together when he was here. So, I think that. There wasn't any animosity there, but I know they were looking forward to competing against them. On a solid friend to friend. See who's going to take it kind of thing competitively, but not. There was no animosity.
With Notre Dame being your opponent right now, one big piece of news that came out over the weekend is that their starting left tackle, Anthony Knapp, will not play in this game. How will you exploit that and try to get more pressure on that edge coming off the very protective side of Riley Leonard?
Well, he's got he can take off on you,
Right.
so you got to be careful. So it's one thing to have a good matchup, but he finds his way out of a lot of situations and he takes off pretty quick. So even if you have a good matchup, you got to be careful with your rush and you got to be controlled.
You got two good edge rushers there, Jim, and those two kids, and you get a little bit of push in the middle and let those guys go to work a little bit, and it'll be an interesting matchup to watch without a doubt.
Yeah, we've had some real production out of our front, and a lot of it, Jim, as you know, goes unnoticed. I mean, they make a lot of plays in the run game too, and I
Yeah.
feel I think these kids here, they're under a lot of pressure. They really are. I mean, this is um it's a place where you're expected to win every game and never give up a first down. So I mean,
Yeah. I've been there.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
yeah. It's like that. I mean, we have the number one defense in the country, but you kind of wouldn't know it. I mean, it's just the expectations are really high, and I think that that can have an effect on the these guys. We're paying them money now, which I think is great. I mean,
Yeah.
I make money, the school makes money, they should make money. But as you know, I mean, they're still young men. We're still developing them, and they're still growing up. So I think a lot of times, people expect them to make every play, and they don't see a lot of the dirty work that they do. So it's always good when they do make the flash plays. I feel good for them because they're under a lot of pressure here.
There's no doubt, and it shows. Excuse me, Mike, but it does show. And the average fan sitting in the stands and watching on TV has no idea that those good pass rushers need good coverage in the back end, and those guys in the back end need good pass rushers. That it all fits together, and those safeties fitting the run and fitting into the front seven is so critical. How it all fits together. It's a shame, Jim, that it's that way, but we know what we sign up for when we decide to get into this business. That it's never good enough unless you win them all, and it's hard to win them all. And matter of fact, I'm going to hope I can welcome you to the national championship club I've got one and hope you'll have one after the 20th. But it's a hard club to get into, and never have I been undefeated. So it's tough, man. People out there don't realize how tough it is.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got good players. As you know, every coach and staff works hard. Everybody puts together a game plan, tries to exploit your weaknesses, and capitalize on their strengths. And yeah, it's a competitive business, and you know, winning them all is ideal, but I'll certainly take just winning the last one would be good.
Exactly.
Coach
No
knows
doubt.
you guys have been going at this since early August, late July. And as you said, these guys are still growing, they're maturing, all of that. But this will be their 16th game, the 16th game for Ohio State when you tee it up against the Fighting Irish in Atlanta. Did you ever think you'd see a 16 game schedule for a collegiate team, which is almost like the NFL classic regular season schedule total? And how have you tried to keep this fresh in your defensive room? I mean, because at some point, kids just tend to lose their attention span. How do you hold their attention? I guess they're big enough stakes that would do it, but I'm sure you have some Jedi mind tricks that you're playing on these guys to keep them ready.
Yeah, it's kind of like Jim said. I mean, they know when you come to Ohio State that this is what you sign up for. I mean, these are the expectations, right? So, I mean, yeah, we try to juice it up in the meetings and on the field and keep it fresh. But these guys are all pre-professional. I mean, they all want an NFL career, and so we're training them for, okay, this is what it's like, and you got to have a process, and you got to repeat that process over and over again, and you got to stick to it. Um, and you got to embrace that grind, but you you get into your routine, and you do try to stick to that routine because that's what makes or breaks you is your habits.